about how to get your sugar intake under control. Look, if you are feeling frustrated, then I can relate to that. I'm going to tell you a little story about a time where I experienced one of my biggest frustrations. I was really having trouble losing weight at a particular time. If you don't know my story, I used to be 28 kilos heavier than what I am now, so I was quite overweight. I had a lot of weight to lose, and it felt like a super long journey that was ahead of me. And after I had lost probably about 10 kilos, after I'd lost about 10 kilos, I kind of got to a bit of a plateau, right? That was about 6 years ago now, maybe a little more. And the problem is that no matter what I was doing, I just could not continue to lose weight. And I really thought that if I just kept doing what I was doing, I had such great momentum, it was just going to continue to go. Now, I had been very consistent. I had been losing weight every week, and I'd been doing extremely well. But when I got to this point, I just couldn't lose any more. And so if you've experienced frustration like that before and you've really hit a plateau, then you're really going to enjoy today's session, because I'm going to tell you about how I overcame that plateau. And it had a lot to do with a hormone called insulin, which at the time I did not know about. I mean, I knew what it was, but I did not know very much about it at all. So if you're struggling, then listen in, because this could really make the difference between you getting out of a plateau, or if you aren't in a plateau, really speeding up your results. Okay, so let me give you a little bit of an analogy first. There are specific conditions that your body must be in order for your body to even choose to use fat as a fuel source, okay, to burn fat. There are specific conditions that your body must be in for you to be able to create the opportunity for fat burning. Now we're going to say that there's 9 conditions, and I'm actually going to be doing a training on those 9 conditions later in this week. I'll let you know more about that. But I want to talk about one of those conditions today, just one, because it's such an important one and it could make a huge difference to you moving forward. And that condition is sugar. Okay, you've really got to manage the sugar in your diet. Now, this is because of the hormones that sugar triggers. Now, we're going to talk about 2 groups of hormones. One of them is going to be fat-burning hormones. I'm going to use props because that's worked well for me in the past. This cup of kombucha is going to represent fat-burning hormones. And this bottle of water is going to represent fat storage hormones. Now, it's interesting to note that hormones oppose each other. So when you produce too much of one, you produce less of the other. And if you produce too much fat storing hormones, then it'll push fat burning hormones down. Okay, so part of the environment that needs to be created is an environment where fat burning hormones are high and fat storage hormones are suppressed. Now, when there is sugar in your blood, you trigger fat storage hormones, therefore fat burning hormones are suppressed. Now, it's important that you understand that, because fat does not burn in the presence of insulin. Alright, and so you could have all those 8 other triggers on, you could have all those 8 other conditions on for fat burning, but if you do not have sugar suppressed enough in your diet in order to get those fat burning hormones high and your fat storage hormones low, if you don't have sugar low enough in the diet for that to happen, then it doesn't matter how many other of those conditions are right, you will not get the result. Okay, so it's important that you understand it's not about how much you want to lose weight or how much potential you have or willpower you have or anything like that. It's about making sure that the conditions for fat burning are right. So let's talk about that first one today. Now, when there was a real special friend of mine who I met. He made a huge difference in my life. His name was Nick. I'm not referring to my husband. He was actually a personal trainer friend of mine who had done a bit of study on nutrition, and I came to him in this challenge and really asked him to help me push through. I thought what I needed was more exercise, and he said to me, "Look, it looks like you're exercising pretty well. I'm going to train you, but I want you to keep a food journal." And I kept the food journal for a week, and as soon as he took a look at it, he said to me, "Look, your carbohydrates are out of control and you're triggering too much insulin." So I'm going to let you know what those 3 things are that I changed within my within the category of carbohydrates, and how I really got my sugars under control. So the first one is added sugars versus natural sugars. There is a difference. Now, your natural sugars like fruit and honey, especially if it's really good quality, like manuka honey, even dried fruit, these are all considered natural sugars. And sometimes we think that these are an exception, and that because they're better for us, that they're not going to contribute to weight gain, but that's not true. See, even natural sugars, even fruit, can contribute to weight gain, because fruit itself is a sugar, honey itself is a sugar. It's going to trigger that hormone insulin. So you've got to make sure that you are aware that even the natural sugars trigger insulin. Now, when it comes to added sugars, these are the most obvious. These are the ones that we tend to be more aware of. Now, usually added sugars come in packets or in packaging, and so what I want you to get into the habit of doing is turning the label around and having a look and seeing how much sugar is in the per serve, okay, so the recommended per serve. So, for example, if you're eating yogurt, okay, and it's if it's natural and unsweetened, then you might want to have that with a natural sugar, say some fruit. Okay, so if you're going to be having some berries with that, then you want to watch the serve of berries that you're having. So here's the recommendation. Okay, so what I'm going to say is that with fruit, you want to make sure that you don't have more than 2 serves of fruit per day. So you want to split that serve of 2 fruits over the course of the day into your yogurt snack. So for example, if you're going to have unsweetened natural Greek yogurt, if you want to have that with some berries, then I suggest that you have a half a cup of berries. Okay, so make sure that your total daily serve of fruit does not go more than 2 serves, and a maximum of 3. And when it comes to added sugars, make sure that if you flick the packaging around, so if you're having, say, yogurt that is not natural and unsweetened, but you're just having a normal sweetened fruit yogurt, you want to turn the packaging around and have a look on the label. What is the sugar per serve? It must look. You've got to. In reality, you've got to keep your sugars down to under 5 grams. Okay, and if you're getting them too high, there could be as much as 16 to 17 grams of added sugars in there, and that's it blown out of the water. Your body will not burn fat in the presence of insulin, and that there will trigger insulin. The second is the natural, more natural sugars. It's the category of carbohydrates. Okay, now within carbohydrates, there's 2 things. There's portion size again, which I'll talk about in a minute, but then there's also the quality of carbohydrates. Now, when we focus on the quality of carbohydrates, we're talking about carbohydrates that have more fiber in them. See, the thing with carbohydrates is when they're ingested, out of all of the other macronutrients like protein and fats, carbohydrates the body can digest so easily. And so because of the swiftness that your body can digest carbohydrates, it turns into its sugar component a lot quicker than, say, protein, or a lot quicker than, say, fat. Okay, so all foods do turn to their glucose form in your bloodstream, but it's carbohydrates that'll do it the fastest. So if you are eating carbohydrates that are not of good quality, then they won't have very much fiber in them. And because of that, they're going to turn to their glucose component, their sugar form, way quicker, which means more insulin. Okay, so the speed that carbohydrates convert into their sugar form is going to determine the amount of insulin that your body needs to produce in order to balance those blood sugar levels. So one of the things that Nick showed me is that when he was helping me was I was focusing too much on calories. Okay, my focus was about counting calories, but a lot of my calories were poor. All right, so the quality of my calories were not good for a start, and the things that I was eating the carbohydrates that I was eating had very low fiber, so that was a huge trigger for insulin for me, which at the time meant that I was lacking sensitivity to insulin, which was quite a big deal. Okay, the last thing that you need to be aware of is portion size. Now, if you are eating good quality carbohydrates, if you've already made that step, that's great. If you're looking beyond just calories, that is awesome. But the other thing you need to consider is your portion size. See, there is such a thing as having too much of a good thing. So another thing that Nick helped me see is that quite a significant portion of my plate was consisting of carbohydrate. So even if I had cleaned up the quality of the carbohydrate I was eating, I was still eating too much carbohydrate at one time. Now, it's not only the speed of carbohydrates that are going to trigger insulin, it's also the quantity of carbohydrates. Now, if you have too much sugar in your blood because of the amount of carbohydrate that you've eaten, then that's going to force the body to produce more insulin in order to balance out the levels of sugar in the blood that are needed. So it's really, really important that you consider your portion size. Now, the portion size I'm going to recommend is a palm, okay? The amount of carbohydrate that would fit into a palm. So good quality carbohydrates are legumes, lentils, chickpeas, whole grains like brown rice and quinoa and pearl barley and buckwheat, oats, especially steel cut oats. There are plenty of really good quality carbohydrate sources out there, but you want to make sure that when you are consuming those, that you are having the amount that fits into a palm. Now, you might be thinking, but that's so small. But consider this. If your goals are to get your body fat down, then you've got to make sure that you are improving how your body is going to deal with carbohydrates. And chances are is that the amount of carbohydrates that you've been eating have been a lot greater than that, and so your sensitivity to insulin is not as high. So what that means is, you might feel like you just need to sniff carbohydrates and it goes straight to your butt, or you might feel like other people are able to eat a lot more carbohydrates, and you only need to eat a small amount in order for your body to start to show signs of gaining weight. Now, this is a condition called insulin sensitivity, or where you're not very sensitive to your insulin, and it's caused by having too much carbohydrate at one time, and or the quality of carbohydrates not being ideal, and so it decreases your body's ability to be able to handle carbohydrates. So it's super important that if your goals are to lose weight and to get healthy, then you've got to increase your body's ability to deal with it. So I'm not saying it's going to stay this portion size forever, but I am saying that in order to get it under control to begin with, to get your body to respond, you got to make sure that in your meals that you are only having like the size that fits into your palm, which is about a half a cup. Okay, this includes also starches like kumara and potato and pumpkin and other starch vegetables. So look, I really hope that you guys got some value from this. It made a huge difference to my results. If you monitor the way that sugars are coming in through your added sugars and even the natural sugars, make sure you keep those addeds under 5 grams, and make sure that you are aware of the sugars that are even natural, because they too will spike your blood sugar, spike the amount of insulin that is in your blood. Make sure you are watching the quality of carbohydrates and then also the quantity of carbohydrates. So I hope that you got some real value from that today. Look, if you enjoyed that, then you're really going to love my upcoming training. I'm going to be doing a training on the 9 conditions, the perfect conditions for fat burning. There are 9 of them. Today I just covered 1. Now I'm going to talk more about that tomorrow. So if you are joining for the first time, 8 a.m. Monday to Thursday is when I do these trainings. So look out for more details on that training. All right, have a great week ahead. You guys have a great day. Join me tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Hopefully I would have gotten some more sleep under my belt. Hopefully my kid gives me a break tonight. Have a fantastic day. Catch you later.